So in summary, I'm going to summarize what I said before. In reading the Divine Warning, there's elements that are highlighted by Noble Drew Ali, where he states the 14th and 15th Amendment is not necessary for the salvation of our people and citizens. We're highlighting today why he made that statement and from a different lens. What we're reading right now is a congressional record, which was in 1967, and it reinstates why the 14th Amendment wasn't ratified. I mean, it's not constitutional. For one, it wasn't ratified. We're going to see, or whoever doesn't know, things have to be ratified before it's 2/3 of Congress. And that didn't happen. All right. So the basis for ICE unconstitutional and unlawful deportation of American citizens who have been tricked into naturalization or the concept of naturalization and the alleged status of being an illegal alien, quote unquote, is the 14th Amendment. The constitutionality of the 14th Amendment is the basis of law in which appears the United States has the authority to naturalize or deport people. The 14th Amendment is known in law as color of law, a legal term which means fake law. Pursuant to the proceedings and debates of 90th Congress, First Session, Volume 113, Part 12 of June 12, 1967, it was publicly declared amongst Congress that the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, void, and unenforceable. So in 1967, it became res judicata. It became on the same footing as case law, public records, etc., that have full faith and credit that we constantly talk about Article 4, Section 1 as reinforcement. It's all tied into these things that the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional. So an immigration and customs enforcement detainer is not a warrant. It is not issued by a judge, and it is not based on a finding of probable cause. It is therefore a violation of all natural persons' constitutional rights. Of course, the body of people or the community or the organization or the nation state must be competent on international law as a collective, of course, to create a whole climate in a different jurisdiction. Of course, the unity must be together on a lot of levels, competently, physically, culturally. Now you're in a divine sphere as we're having this earthly experience, right? So let's look at the Fourth Amendment or the Fourth Bill of Rights. And keep in mind, 10 Bill of Rights, 10 amendments. When we start going after 10, unconstitutional. Keep that in mind as well. So the right of the people to be secure in their persons, house, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly prescribing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. That's your constitutional right. It can't be a search unless what? A warrant is shown. Not only not only a warrant, but what goes with the warrant? Supported by oath or affirmation. So the warrant needs to be attached, right, to an officer that got sworn in, that took an oath to the Constitution, right? Tries you back, peace and love, right? So this is just knowing the measuring stick. This is just knowing the rule book. All right, keep these things in mind. And then the warrant, not only, even if those things are intact, right? You have an officer that got sworn in attached to the warrant. Somebody took an oath. let's say that is it, all that's in place. It talks about the particular place to be searched and particularly describing the place to be searched with. They can't freestyle. Particular. This is the law. All officers get sworn in and they take an oath to this contract document called the Constitution for the United States of America. On the public record of the municipality, or i.e. the city level or the county level, you can get a Freedom of Information Act to get a copy of proof that the officer got sworn in, under the Constitution. And now you have their contract. So if they violate a contract, that's a tort, that's a violation, that's a breach. That's an injury, that's a claim that you can make on a federal level, right? Once we know the law, your mind's different. You're thinking different. You know procedure, you know administration, you know checks and balances. There's no questions or statements. I'm gonna continue. The ultimate goal of this provision is to protect people's rights to privacy and freedom from unreasonable intrusions by the United States. In general, most warrantless searches of private premises are prohibited under the Fourth Amendment, unless specific exceptions applies. For instance, a warrantless search may be lawful if an officer has asked and is given consent to search. If the search is incident of a lawful arrest, if there is probable cause to search, and there is exigent circumstances calling for the warrantless search. Exigent circumstances exist in situations where people are in imminent danger, where evidence faces imminent destruction, or prior to a suspect's imminent escape. The court must determine what constitutes a search or seizure under the Fourth Amendment. We just read the ramifications of the Fourth Amendment. If the conduct challenged does not fall within the Fourth Amendment, the individual will not enjoy protection under the Fourth Amendment. Question A. Peace and love to brother Billy. Question A. What is a search? A search under Fourth Amendment occurs when a governmental employee or agent of the government violates an individual's reasonable expectation of privacy. This is important to note because your citizenship is your private interest, and you cannot be arbitrarily asked for your national allegiance or citizenship. There's things to know. Just have a different mind frame, a national mind frame distinguished from a minority mind frame. But of course, power with the people moving in unison is where the power is. But everybody involved in the unity, if they're competent, if they're locked in, if they have national pride and allegiance, it's going to thrive. You can invoke these things. And we have international laws, of course, rights of indigenous people. Continuing, strip searches and visual body cavity searches, including anal or genital inspections, constitute reasonable searches under the Fourth Amendment when supported by probable cause and conducted in a reasonable manner. So we can't forget probable cause. Is everybody clear on what probable, before I continue, is everybody in the chat clear what probable cause is?
Yeah.
It's an indicator to let them investigate you, right?
What are the steps?
It's something incriminating. It's something incriminating that's around that gives them lawful entry to your vehicle or whatever, like type thing, maybe.
That in summary, I guess I want to know what the steps are. how do you know probable cause has took place? What,
Mm.
shall I go over it, or is anybody?
Yeah, I think you
Anybody?
should go over it because I'm trying to think of an
Yeah,
example.
go.
Okay. Now, I won't show it on the screen, but I will say it for your guys to take notes. So, probable cause of the Fourth and Fifth Amendment collectively. What does the Fourth and Fifth Amendment collectively say? For a crime to be committed, there must be an indictment by a grand jury. But before even the indictment, it must be an injured party with a sworn affidavit saying you injured them or their property, and then that gets submitted to the grand jury. So a human being got injured or their property got injured, and they're saying you did it under a sworn affidavit. They signed and sworn off to that. Yeah, to the truth, the whole truth. I swear this took place. Grand jury reviews it.
So, Marv, what you saying basically is that what they portraying to us as probable cause really is not, because none of them go through those steps that you just explained.
Most of the time, it
Cool.
doesn't, because the people don't know the law. They're not. They're voluntarily,
Wow.
going through the procedures of a colorable or fraudulent.
Wow.
Because all this is municipal. Remember, municipal corporation, private. We Khalifa Society, we got right. We got bylaws, but if you're not a member of Khalifa Society, how are you subject to that? Think of the same thing with a municipal, right? They got board members, they got internal functions, and they have penal codes and statutes to regulate, right? Their corporation or municipal corporation doing business as the city of whatever. So if you're not part of that crew or a board member, their internal laws shouldn't affect somebody that's not part of that board, right? Wouldn't that make sense?
Indeed.
Okay. So once you know that, the measuring stick for anybody is the Constitution. If they're especially if they're saying they're government, right? Corporations saying they're government, right? But since most people their mind state outside of, like I say, back to Chinatown, Koreatown, because most people don't see it, but a national mind frame will see like little Saigon is Vietnam, even though it's America, even though the soil is America, politically that jurisdiction is Vietnam, little Saigon, Garden Grove over here in Orange County. It's the people. It's not the empire. Is the people. It's not the land. Wherever the people with the nationality unify, settle nomadically, that becomes a jurisdiction. That's why I keep bringing that up. Why it's imperative of the people of the land that are Aboriginal, indigenous to the land, need to do the same thing. Because in these districts, there's influence. You're gonna like up back to who the mayors and the politicians is all the same people with the same nationality. The board of superintendents. Now you have political power just by simply working together and have an honor and have a culture, and have a unification and a direction, economically as well. It's not just, I'm a more, it's action that needs to take place, which means attempting to unify with the people and et cetera. Who else came in here? Let me greet everybody. Let's see. Brother, Brother Brian. It's peace and love. No, you was already here. Somebody else came in.
Larry Bay.
Oh, Larry Bay.
Bay.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love. How we doing? How we feeling?
Peace and
Pretty
love,
good.
Larry. What's going on, bro?
Peace and love.
Peace and love, Mark.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Everyone.
So maybe you can help us out, Larry Bay. We was trying to figure out when we talk about probable cause, What does that mean? How do we know that all the steps have taken place in probable cause? What are the steps of probable cause? That's what was on the floor, man, right before you came in. And I would love to, let you get a swing, man. You at bat, man.
Yeah. Man, probable cause, huh? Yeah. Well, man, the only probable cause I'm really familiar is when, like, for example, the the police, let's say, they pull you over in the car, something like that, and they generally use the probable cause rule in order to say, well, we need to pull you over. We suspect this, we expect that, and this and that and the other. I know I'm totally off the topic because I really don't have an idea, basically what probable cause may mean.
No,
But
I'm
that's
sorry. That's my fault, man. Um, that's not what we said. What were we talking about earlier?
Now,
We weren't-
now,
we-
now,
We're talking about the
how?
Fourth and Fifth Amendment and how they could use it to search you, and like probable
Oh,
cause we're getting the steps.
you was
Yeah,
telling
yeah,
us the real
affidavit.
definition of probable cause. I had
okay.
gave you an example of what I thought probable cause was, but when Moppy was telling us what probable cause really is, it's not really what we suspected. We're not competent in that type of law. You wouldn't know. You would be like, oh, he smelled weed, so he can search my car or whatever.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Type thing.
No, what I'm saying is if I've been saying probable cause the whole time, I'm saying I want to correct that. I made a mistake. I meant to say
Oh,
I meant to
word.
say
Okay.
I meant to say due process. I thought I was saying due process.
Mm.
Nah, you saying
Oh,
probable
okay.
cause, fam. And then you was like, what's an
Yeah.
example of it?
Okay, no. So scratch that due process.
Oh,
That's the
Word. Now
that's
it
okay.
what I
makes
meant to
sense.
say.
Okay.
Because if due process is violated, then they can't get to you attesting for a crime. That's what I'm getting at. It has to be channels. Now those channels of the fourth and fifth amendment still is the case. What constitute probable? Well, I mean, due process. What constitutes due process is the fourth
Well,
and fifth amendment collectively. All right, go ahead. You got it. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Well, yeah. Due process. Yeah. Well, if you're, let's say you are pulled over by an officer, and he's, let's say they take you to jail, and they arrest you, they book you, they throw you into a cell, and then Monday you go to court, right? You show up to court, and there's really there's you're still found guilty no matter what, and then now you're being sentenced, and let's say the evidence comes out that you can prove that what they did was in violation of due process, because they didn't do their they didn't do their due diligence in their investigation to prove that you didn't do it. So they wound up assuming that you did do the crime. You ended up serving time behind that, but now you've been found innocent of all charges, and so now you're free. So now that's for me, that's an example of lack of due process, of them not going through the entire in the whole process in one order, in each of the steps, in order for the Fifth Amendment to apply towards you. They jumped over a lot of the so-called quote unquote hoops and had you convicted. And that's just my little assessment of due process.
Right. So basically, our job is to highlight the fraud or highlight the things that did not take place. Once we obviously comprehend what due process is, obviously, we can have a better measuring stick, right? So, like the example Larry Bay gave, if something do take place, we can spot as evidence, time and date, uh, You know exactly what, it's a, what's it called? An incident report. And in your incident report, you're highlighting all the constitutional violations. You're not only saying, oh, my constitutional rights were violated because my due process, I wasn't afforded proper due process. You're not only going to state that, but you're going to highlight exactly the violation, how it went down, right? So if you get thrown in jail, the violation clearly would be, was my indictment. I was never indicted. Was the injured party? Who kicked the whole thing off? Who did I, you know what I mean? So, and of course, we're dealing with colonists, so that's why it's imperative to know this information and move as a body with this information. Could have pretended and and do diplomacy with different mayors and whatever in the general area, because this little stuff will get behind us. We're not going to get harassed by the police and all this stuff. Things making it bad for us is the people that don't know what they're doing. They by themselves. They get labeled as sovereign citizen. They're just not competent. It's this nation in the period. It's not, and but I'm not going to get too long-winded about that. But it's imperative for us to know these things just in case we come into a position where, we get kidnapped or something like that. We want to know through every stage where it's a recording, what's coming out of our mouth is law, reinforcing the fact that all these people involved took an oath to the contract that I'm saying the violation, I'm stating violations of the contract that you took an oath to. The public record on the county level and the municipal level is a copy of that contract. It's imperative that we get a hold of these things. And now, once again, if we're a body, if one of our citizens get apprehended, it's a team of people. Oh, what's the county that the colonists did this? Let's do we know some more in the area where we can have them go to the city hall and do a public information act to get that's why we got to get the names, of course, so we can get the contract and proceed. That's how. That's nation state. That's a drill society. That's what they call a consulate or embassy, even though we're not foreign to our land, but we're foreign to the federal United States
You said a
corporation.
juror? Excuse me,
Drill,
a juror, right? That's the word?
drill society, JURAL. And that's a synonym to body politic, nation state, community, national community.
Because they have their own body politic along with economic system that produces for themselves.
Right. On top of knowing international law.
Okay, so they're competent in maintaining foreign relations.
Yes, as well as what you just said. Internally, domestically with the businesses, schools.
Internally, yes.
Internally, it's organization, yeah. All of that together. And implementing a culture. So that's why it's imperative that we gather, for example, we have like every gate, summer solstice, atomic equinox. We're exhibiting our culture. This is Moorish culture. This is what Moors do. And it's like, look around. Everybody got culture. They got something. It's a celebration. Typically, annually, biannually.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, and it's simple. We just getting back to being human. We're human, you know what I'm saying? People that got culture. We just fell behind, Any other question on the floor before I continue? So everybody's good on due process. If not, you can still slow walk it. Still slow walk due process. Everybody's not clear. All right. All right. So let's see where we at here. Okay. A dog sniff inspection is invalid under the Fourth Amendment if the inspection violates a reasonable expectation of privacy. Electronic surveillance is also considered a search under the Fourth Amendment. what is what is seizure of a person? A seizure of a person within the meaning of the Fourth Amendment occurs when the police conduct would communicate a reason to a reasonable person, taking into account the circumstances surrounding the encounter, that the person is not free to ignore the policy, to ignore the police presence and leave at his will. Two elements must be present to constitute a seizure of a person. First, there must be a show of authority by the police officer, presence of handcuffs or weapons, the use of forceful language, the physical contact, are each strong indicators of authority. Second, the person being seized must submit to the authority. That's the key. That's why it's imperative to have bodies, communities, muftis, security, either members of the organization, members of, i.e., members of the community, i.e., members of the citizens of the nation state, members of the organization, citizens of the nation state, however you want to word it, needs to be a black belt or something, marksman, protecting the schools and children on payroll. The temple is paying. He's on payroll by the temple. He's on payroll by the community. That's why it's imperative for the members of the community either to piece up and invest and make flips to grow the pot of the treasury so we can be in a position to pay people, right? Or we can export and just hire regular security people like any other people do. They just hire people with arms that are trained and they just work for us. Ideally, we want it to be ingrown, right? A
So,
piece of love, brother Justin, Islam.
hey, Mob, what about like members, like own members? You know, you got a member that might be skilled in security or whatever the case may be. Do it like that too, right? Instead of like subcontracting the work out. What about like members within the society, like one being head of security or whatever the case may be? That could save us money too.
Yeah, yeah, that's the first. That'd be the first ideal, you know. Yeah, that's the first. Yeah, ideally, we want that to be the member, and we also want to be in a position to pay the member. Uh,
Islam, Islam.
yeah,
Yeah,
Islam.
that's the purpose of a mufti. A mufti
Mufti.
has to be trained in martial arts and also in law. They have to be uh trained in both areas. That's the purpose of a mufti. So they're the protectors of the peoples inside the temples and outside the temple. And there's different levels of training to be a mufti. You just can't say I'm a mufti without having a proper training to be a mufti. And those are the security forces of the MST of A and for all Muslims.
So, I think the brother, for example, wait, is DL in here? No, DL's not here. Double check. No, DL's not here right now at the moment. But yeah, so brother DL, he has a black belt. So once he gets competent in law, international law, for example, he will be a good candidate. So ideally, we want a bunch of black belts in the organization, man. We got people that, our people that think they're black, Negro, color, Hispanic, Latino, whatever. We got some black belts out there. So, if we're doing outreach and missionary work, we're going to run across people that may take interest, that may already be qualified halfway. We just got to get them competent with the law, culture, so they can be a proper ambassador. And there we have it, right? We don't got to look too far. And that's what happens as we evolve. As long as everybody know the game plan collectively, what we're trying to do. Everybody in this chat right here has a networking pool that's different from each other's. And as the months and years grow, you know what we're trying to do, right? Shift them, centralize them, and start getting more and more organized as we grow and doing some things. And yeah, man. Any questions on due process? Justin, Do you know what due process is? Are you clear on that?
Um, no, if you could catch or what you guys are currently talking about currently?
Yeah. This due process in general. Like, do you know what that is? Like, what is due process? Why is that important?
Uh, what I believe it has to do with is you know in court, I guess. But no, I don't. I don't.
Can somebody else outside of myself let Brother Justin know what due process is?
Yeah, baby.
The Fourth and Fifth Amendment in the Constitution. Basically, the due process, not the whole, but within the Constitution, the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, will let you know about the process it takes to, you know, be indicted or being say, hey, you did this. It's proper way. You just can't say, oh, it looked like you did that without proper documentation and going through a process. Constitution allows us to do that. And that's why the 14th, 15th Amendment isn't necessary, because that takes away the process. Yeah, not saying that's the end all be all, but that's what I got from Brother Raphael, and I yield.
I have a question. What are some roadblocks to understanding when it comes to adapting the correct mind frame when it comes to law, understanding it and applying it?
People putting information out there that's off the point, off the mark. So now people don't know what's the reality from the illusion. That's why it needs to be more of our people that put the reality out there in a simple way. Isn't how we're talking about this practical? That's not far-fetched, right?
No, not at all.
And we see examples in real time. That's why I always bring up the Chinatown, Koreatown thing, because it's back to the divine order, national standards. It's not like he's trying to catch. It's obvious he's trying to catch it up to speed. If everybody else but us is unified to an extent where they got ecosystems,
Yes.
Political power, economics, but us. And no Joe Ali is saying we need to get back to national standard. What's national standards? We have a lot of examples, right? Where he said our brothers from the East, right? Back to that. Our brothers from the East. Peace and love, Nanel. So, we got examples around us on how to unify. And we just, like I said, once again, Khalifa Society is just an institution where you can come learn history, law, unify, and that's all a human being can do is try to do the best he can and do great work. Help other Moors do great work and keep unifying, and let people know that we exist. Just like any other, I won't call this a business, but it's still marketing. It's just called missionary work. That's all it is. You're letting people know what we do. Because everybody don't know. I mean, just because we've been studying, this Moors have been studying for years, you can lose sight that most people don't know about this space. Most people don't know about nationality, like our people specifically. And things start getting like repetition. It's like, okay, we've been hearing this, like I say, study more. This information I'm telling you about is repetition, like and it's basic. But for people just waking up to this, it's okay. It's just groundbreaking, as it should be. But I guess what I'm saying is when you're part of a body, it's going to be an institution where the most competent people in the organization become more adept. And then, people like myself I can remove myself from being hands-on from doing like this, right? Somebody else will be doing this, like
Yes.
the presentations. I can free up my time to start doing more missionary work, to be hands-on in the community while this is still going on, right? While it's still institutional, right? So it's all about, everybody buying in, getting competent and organizing amongst ourselves. And magnetism, man. Like people go, it's like any other organization. It's just and like I say, we're not corporate. We're just a nation state. Same nationality of
Same
people.
principle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that. Um, education is very key. I believe that having a complete grasp on the dictionary and etymology of words, being able to correct people in the right sense, in the right perspective, placing them in the right perspective. For example, if anyone calls you quote unquote black, you should be competent to be able to, in an intelligent tone, correct them. You see what I'm saying? You should be able to correct them and then be able to give them an etymological and dictionary wise, law dictionary wise definition of color and black. And then they can vividly see that the word doesn't apply to a human being. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
what our people have done is taken on this identity of this color. We have taken it, we have embraced it as a form of identification, and we're just because our lack of understanding of what the word means, both in law and etymology wise, it's a detriment to our people.
Mm.
It's a crutch at this very moment. It's a crutch, and the main thing I've done, because I have to admit, when I first came into this information, I was heavy in the black, but then I had to train myself, and over time, now that word it doesn't even come to my train of thought any longer. It only comes. I only apply it as an adjective when I'm describing things. I don't use it in the sense of a noun or a pronoun. So now, when I'm talking to people, when people are addressing me and they mistakenly call me that label, I can intelligently correct them. And that right there, it opens eyes big time. When you tell them you're not black, and then you're able to defend it, and you're able to give them a demonstration, and your erudition is right on point. Now you're tipping the scales, the balance of the scales being tipped back into our favor again. So now when they run into the next brother, they're gonna be like, well, you're not black. Your bloodline is more. So now they can even educate you. So it's I think that the study and education it needs to be uplifted in our community. It needs to be advanced. It needs to be promoted so our people can get on board and get this train going in the right direction. But anyway, I yield. That's just one I wanted to add into.
Read
Wow.
RBB.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Benjamin Bay, would you say?
Read RB Bay every day. That
Yeah, that's
helps.
great.
I mean,
That's
that's so deep. I mean, like you'll slowly start to see things. Kind of like I was saying, like working out. The more you go, I lift the heaviest thing. You shouldn't come in, more science and try to, do the most, I guess, difficult thing. Because new to you. Just take what you can get and slowly build, and that's how you can slowly undevelop yourself.
I heard this one gentleman state that all you need to do is 18 minutes a day for a year. That
You
adds
said
up to
what?
18 minutes a day for 1 year. That equals to 1,000 minutes, and you will be a expert in the field no matter what you train in. You will be an expert if you applied yourself just 18 minutes per day. You will be an expert in whatever field that you choose to go into.
Beautiful math.
Because at some point it's gonna become muscle memory. Like you'll start to hear certain dates and things like that. Like I hear certain dates and I'll just flash like a document or something, like you see a
Mm.
price on. But that just comes from you said, like you said, I'm not doing like 18 minutes, but like just studying every day in general. You start to pick it up and it be muscle memory. Like you
Mm.
said, you master whatever you do every day. But yeah, I yield. That was cool.
That statement was very powerful, Larry, because 18 minutes ain't nothing. That just tells you how easy it is for your light to shine out here if you just focus. Thanks for that, bro. That was dope, bro.
Yeah, man, that's real
Agree.
talk. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, 18 minutes. Wow.
It's all it
Yeah,
take, man.
that's all it takes, and that's what we need. That's the whole point of, once again, knowing our culture, because you start seeing it's very intricate, not too intricate, but meditation is key. Having organization in your life. So you may need to be a person that needs to have a things to do list. It is what it is until you start getting to the point where you're using every moment of your 24, your daily cycle efficiently. 'Cause I'm pretty. Everybody has little moments where they probably could tighten up, where they could squeeze an hour study in or whatnot, or 30 minutes, or 17 minutes, whatever the case may be. And when you start talking about the law of the Mayat, you know, Islam, Muslim, ancient culture, it's about balance. You gotta have order in your life. You should be at create an environment where you're at peace at all times. You're gonna have genius thoughts, man. You know,
Right.
you're gonna be exuding the type of energy that's people gonna come up to you to want to be around you and just talk to you. And when this is taking place, feed them with the light. You gotta feed them. This is what you want. A person, a competent more, had nation pride, nation pride. He love when the person comes to them. Cause I'm trying to wake them up. I'm trying to do creative things to wake the people up. If they coming to me, I'm trying to blaze them comfortably. Take my time and just, think of just ways I could just, feed the people, man.
Yeah.
So, and that's back to the heart chakra, man. What's your heart's intention when it comes to this? Back our national flag, Venus,
Yeah, love.
dealing with love. We're dealing with the heart chakra, so if love is not in the forefront of the intentions with the dealing with the people, and people can feel it, man.
Yeah,
Humans,
they will.
electro. People got energy. People's energy base. If they know it or not, they can feel. And that's what it's all about, man. Good vibes and knowing what you're talking about too. You want to have good vibes, but know what you're talking about when you talk with the people, and they're gonna check you out, man. Invite them to the events. That's why we want to, get in the habit of, as the months and years go on here, we want to have to do more missionary work, more pop-ups, events. Um, People know Khalifa Society exists, especially in our area, Long Beach, LA, Orange County. We want the people that ain't up on this to know, and of course, our members in other counties, territories rather, do the same, and what's going to end up happening is we have a nice pool, and yeah, me and Brother Hassan already politicking. He out there, Virginia, out there. We already brainstorming how we gonna link up out here in Cali, right? Trying to get some land and couple things. So it's gonna take off, and everybody buy in. Any any type of any entrepreneurs that's in the society, let's market each other businesses heavy, and let's encourage our people that are not entrepreneurs to be entrepreneurs. Uh, and that's the climate, that's the atmosphere, you know, that we're trying to build, man. Uh, so due process, everybody good with due process. Taraji Bay, how you over there? You comprehend due process over there, Taraji Bay? Might walk away. All right, so let me
I'm
continue.
good over here, man.
So most of us, we get, matter of fact, let me see. A warrantless arrest. Did I read this? No, which, okay, I think I read everything up here.
Real quick, brother Mafi, just for clarification, I guess, an understanding of due process. I understand it is in the Constitution. All right, you okay? Is it what as far as what you talking about is, or what we're all been talking about right now? What I've been listening to, the coming together, just as far just everything pretty much is that what due process is, as far as in a not a definition sense, but just an understanding. Here you go, baby. There you go.
So due process would be and also the brother put something in the chat too. That was I like what he put in the chat, brother Dupa. And one of the bullet points he talks about due process is enforcing the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights would be the Amendment 1 through 10, right? So the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. Now we're kind of intricately going into that bullet point that we put into the chat. Those two yeah, look up the Fourth and Fifth Amendment and just kind of do some repetition with it, marinate with it. But essentially, when you read both of them together, you need an injured party, sworn affidavit to say you injured them or their property. You need that to be submitted to a grand jury. There's an indictment process that needs to take place, and then a warrant issued. That warrant's attached to the person that took an oath to the Constitution. You get served, and then the process starts. If any of these things are missing, then that's a violation of your due process. They can't just jump to you defending yourself, without the other elements taking place. So, but still, I would just marinate on the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, just kind of marinate on that.
Okay. Will do. I see it.
I have a question real quick.
Okay. Go ahead, Roger, you got it.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Say like you didn't harm anybody, but they claiming that you burnt somebody's property. Is that still considered as no injured party, or that's an injured party?
A human being says you injured their property, yeah, that's an injured party.
But if they don't have evidence, that's still the same.
Oh well, yeah, if they don't have well, if they had an affidavit form, they took it to the grand jury and said you injured their property. Now it's just a matter of weighing the evidence. Because the indictment is not the end all be all. That's just is validity to even get the party started. That needs to take place before we start getting into the adjudication.
Right. So this person was I'm sorry. The guy that's okay, I'm talking about my son, okay? They said that the guy went in and pressed charges on him. He never seen my son, and he never showed up for court after he made that accusation that my son run his car up.
Yeah. We got dismissed then, right?
But my son didn't do that. He didn't show up for court.
Oh, your son didn't show up, or the person that charges that brought the charges?
The person that filed the claim didn't show up.
Didn't show up.
So what happened? He got dismissed?
So the state
No, he's on probation for that. He's been on probation since 2019.
Oh, it's a
I guess
probation
what
case.
happened, he took a plea because they.
Oh yeah, y'all breaking up. I was able to make it out, but it's getting worse and worse. I don't know if y'all want to go to another area, but it's a lot of turbulence over there.
Hey, Mafi.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to take a yeah, this is Larry Bay. I wanted to take another stab at the due process, right? From a different angle, different perspective. And let's say, one of the Muslims on this call, let's say you issue a writ, right? You issue a writ, you're gonna give them 10 days or 30 days to answer the initial writ. Okay. And then afterwards, you give them a notice of non-response or a notice of um the notice of default, right? So they fail to answer the second. Now at the very end, we do what is called a certificate of default. Okay, so now I gave you the full due process of responding to the writ. And now I have a judgment in full against you. And there is no arguing at this moment because I gave you due process to prove your point.
Right. Right.
You see,
Yeah, that's
you
that's an
know,
example. That'll be another example of due process in that context. Yeah. 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 Different context. Um
Yeah,
that's a
it's
good
that.
that's a good example. You got something? Somebody for say something?
Oh yeah, I was like, it's like letting your papers precede you. It's like they're speaking for you, just in case you have to go in special appearances, stand on something. Like the writ is like an extension of you, so with the information. So it shouldn't be a reason why we come face to face because I'm putting facts down on this writ. That protects myself is what I'm doing. So that's what I like about as well when you communicate. That's what it sounds to me like. You letting your papers precede you, pop up or do a thing. So,
Yeah.
So do I do a writ default first or certificate of default? I didn't get the first part.
I think she's talking about the default. Now keep in mind it's very distorted. I'm just making out what I think you said about the default. So you follow up with a notice of default, in harmony with however many days you gave them in the first correspondence. You just follow up in that timely fashion. Get certified. You do it where you get a receipt. You get like a green stamp in the mail, green card, saying that somebody signed off for it. Um, and then that's just on the record. So when you do make that special appearance physically, and that's another key, when you're in open, when this is like if the clerk is typing and you're in that municipal court, you want to be competent and stay on the merit of what you filed. And you want their attention to be alerted on what you filed. And then you want to have a physical copy yourself when you go in there, just in case they say, I don't have what you filed. I don't, what you're saying you filed on the record, I don't see it. What you would say is, I have a copy of what was filed stamped by the clerk. When you're making this special appearance, these are things that you're going to say. And then you can get straightened out. Now, there's a little game that they're might play. So you want to get straight to the sparring match with the measuring stick is, right? So, and once again, you don't want to be having paper in your face, reading the rights that you say you have, but you don't even know them competently because you're looking at the paper. So I'm emphasizing these things for a reason. Um, because you want to have a mirror of how you're looking, you know, just know what you're talking about.
hey, Mafia. Also, too, I wanted to interject the 5.1 rule. The 5.1 rule is, for example, when you're in court and they pull those kind of antics, well, you can then subpoena the postmaster. Hey, did he receive this on this date, this date, this date, this date? Yes, sir, I can verify this. This is the certified mail receipt. He received it on this day. We had the stamp, this, that, and the other. And you can even you can actually you can use the 5.1 rule for public officials You can use it, for anyone, basically. Have them come into court and testify on your behalf that what you're saying is true and correct. So when they start pulling those antics in the courtroom, yeah, you say, hey, okay, well, I got a postmaster. So who's going to be more believable at this point? Who's going to have who at this moment, who at that point credentials will stand out more, the postmaster or your adversary, and they're telling you that you didn't send them nothing? Postmaster, hands down.
Right. Yep. Um,
So when we file these papers, do we take to the judge himself or the DA or
clerk,
the judge?
the clerk of the court.
The clerk of the court, you want to record it into the record.
Okay,
You want to record it. You want to record it into
okay,
the case.
I did that, but I'm still not getting no response.
You're not going to get a response. I mean, sometimes you might, but don't look for them to be like, "Oh, you case is dismissed because of this affidavit that you filed." Based on that, we're going to have to dismiss the case. Don't even show up. Don't expect that. Don't expect that. Don't
So do
expect
we
that.
keep selling stuff in the court or what do we do? Like
No, you have to have open
get
court.
resolved. We keep
You have to face your oppressor. Like you have to not only file it, but remember we're colonized. So that's why I say special appearance, distinguished from general appearance, and you're gonna say what's the violation? The affidavit that I submitted or got recorded into evidence, the affidavits that were filed, they haven't been addressed. You take an oath to the Constitution, right? You've been sworn in, and that's why I say before you even go to these municipal courts, you're gonna know who the commissioner is, quote unquote, the judge. Go do your due diligence and go to the city hall and get a copy via a Freedom of Information Act request. Get his contract that he got sworn in, take an oath to the Constitution. Now you'll have that as an exhibit with your filings. So now when you show up in court, all you're talking about is what he took an oath to, the contract. That's the measuring stick. You want to make sure that is that the rule book we're playing with today, right? Correct? Of course. You want to get a response. Of course I'm a constitution. Yeah, of course. I'll take an oath to the Constitution. You want to get him talking like that. Cool, we on the same page. Now that sets the stage for the competent Moore to speak. Your job is to be competent and put him in the checks and balances.
And
Now,
all affidavits have to be admitted into court. If you record an affidavit, it has to be part of the record.
like I say, remember the clerk is going to be typing, so the things coming out your mouth, the emotion does not need to be there. It's simple, you know. Keep them in check. Like, as far as objection, you don't have to get too belligerent, but you want to be firm. Objection. Right? You already established you took an oath to the Constitution. I have the document right here. It was filed by the clerk as well as, an exhibit to my overall writ. So before we move on, Fred or whatever, I like to call him by their first name, especially if we know they ain't got delegation of authority. You have a little fun in there while you in there.
Fred is funny.
Yeah. But seriously though, the bottom line is they took this contract, right? They took an oath to a contract to even get sworn in to be even up there. So we want to establish that took place. Get a meeting of the mind with he or she that's up there. Correct, sir. I want to make sure that my constitutional rights are not violated. That's going to happen, right? Of course, we want to make sure everybody's constitutional rights are secured. Of course. Okay. Has there been an injured party? Pursuant to Article 3, Section 1 and 2, I'm not a U.S. citizen. If there's a dispute This is not the proper venue. It must be a federal level, correct? Am I right or wrong? Remember, the clerk is typing. It has to be a response, right? The competent more needs to be in the building. That's what needs to take place. Before you even try any of this stuff, you need to be competent. And really, if it's a body, most of the time you don't have to speak because counsel is coming in there. But it's the climate of our people. I advocate you speak for yourself in these times. But ideally, it was structured like that. We have ambassadors that speak for our citizens. Brother Lamar Harris, peace and love, peace and love. Right. So, but before we get to that level, we gotta, even though our people need to know they got a nationality and illustrious culture first, you know. But it's levels to it, you know. Well, at least we want to know the potential and know the rule book, you know. Any statements, questions, comments? All right, so we got the case laws right here. Let me look at the chat. See, exactly. We need qualified jurists, and like I say, I have an example. Like I said, you go on YouTube. It's an example of a case. It was a Moore. I was counsel in the municipal, the magistrate rather. He said, "Are you a bar member?" I said, "No, I'm not a bar member. I'm a consul pursuant to the treaty, which falls under the parameters of Article 3, Section 1 and 2, and Article 6. Oh, go ahead. And it was, I think, about 7 Moors there, Fez and Turban as well. Right. So, you know, some people probably couldn't even pass that for no, I'm not a bar member. Well, you can't speak. What you mean? It's my land.
What you talking about, Fred?
Hey, but don't know principles though. You can't just, it's my land. I don't need a bar member. They're not, you're gonna have it's gonna be turbulence, man. They're gonna start calling you a sovereign citizen and all this type of crazy stuff. And you're making the people look bad too. All these people doing this halfway, getting some information, thinking they can get out of something now. You're making us look bad. Making us look bad. The competent more that studied with their heart in the right place, trying to nation build, you know. But
Did you say Article 6?
yes, Article 6, also known as the Supremacy Clause. Any municipal, local governments laws, they have local laws for their municipal court. The Supremacy Clause blows all of them out the water.
Yeah, that's Article 6, Clause 1 and 2. Want to check that out.
Once again, I reference you to the it's on the records on YouTube. We was in court. We snuck a camera in there. And the dude was like the Ventura local laws and all this type of stuff. And he read something he didn't even know he was finna read. He was in robot mode. He was like, the local laws basically get trumped by the Supremacy Clause. That's the only thing where you have to look outside of the scope of their municipal laws. And I said, that's what I've been telling you the whole time. Article 6, we're talking about treaties. I'm a counsel. That's the whole point. It was like, he was like, you know what he said? But the font, you might be right what you're saying, but the font that you filed, the writ, right? So it was madness.
Wow.
It was madness,
He
bro.
tried to say the spelling was wrong, Mom.
No, the font. The font.
Oh, the way you do the letters and what you choose to write the stuff up in. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's like your English.
What?
letter too small. It's like,
Yo, that's all he had, Mom. You embarrassed him. I'm about to watch that video.
Yeah,
bro.
I gotta see that too. You caught him flat-footed. You got me over here laughing in tears, man.
All he
Nah,
can
because
say.
he probably was calm with it, like, all like, well, sir.
Business as usual. Business as usual.
poor
He
Fred.
said, but look at what the clerk he's typing though. The judge said on the record, you might be right.
Dang.
Everything you're saying might be right, but I'm like, what? I ain't never heard that like that. I never heard that like that.
Well, that's like they're throwing stuff at you like ducking, and they just keep grabbing stuff. You're like, oh, you might be. Oh man, just keep it fair.
You know, I would have said, well, let me rephrase. I would have told him, let me read Article 6, Clause 1 and 2 for you for the record, in case you have amnesia and you're not able to remember. Let's bring this back into perspective and start reading Clause 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But he read it. I didn't even have to say it. Like he didn't even know what he was gonna read. It was he turned red, like it was ugly. But
like that. Right. Like
exactly.
the process that falls in the due process of law as well. You're
Right.
using the fifth and sixth articles, to set up like, yo, it's a process. You just can't say 1, 2, and 3, and we have to adhere. And vice versa. You got to know what you were talking about. You just can't say, no, y'all can't do that. It's like, no, y'all can't do that because of this. This article says this. This article says this. And that's a process that you have to go through. Right? So that's another process within the Constitution. So
yeah, it's all due process, and it's back to the competency. You gotta know the measuring stick. The rule book to make sure that they're playing fair, man. Outside of that, it's looked at like you're voluntarily accepting what they're talking about. If you don't know the rule book, they're gonna do what they do. Voluntary compliance.
Yeah. They're carrying the ball just to go lay the ball up. You're like, what's going on? I'm dribbling. You running like a football. I don't know. You can't do that. Shame on me. You're gonna score every time. You ain't gonna tell me what not to do. That I can't do this. They would just keep collecting, keep taking advantage, optimizing on what one doesn't know.
Yeah. Before I continue, let's see. Somebody saw something in the chat here. Peace and love, guys. Thanks for all the wisdom. Okay, peace and love. He already left. Okay, so I'm gonna continue to the Second Amendment. The Sixth Amendment. So the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, being the supreme law of the land, all state and local governments must operate within this framework. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, in our case, counsel, the right to an impartial jury of your national peers, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. So once you have a nationality, your national peers, right? We have 12 seats, 12 jurors. We need 6 to be a jury of your peers for it to be fair. So you need to know that, right? People that of your culture. Sixth Amendment, verbatim. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein a crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law. And ascertained by law means delegation of authority. Whoever doesn't know what that little cute little word they threw in there. How do they have the power? Are they properly delegated? And to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him. Injured party, human being, sworn affidavit, says you injured him or the property. To have compulsory process for obtaining witness in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So back to codify things that are within the municipal law, et cetera, that take them to a jurisdiction that they call federal, what we call international, dealing with treaty law, et cetera. Department of State Consular Notification and Access Manual will be an example of one, where if you're part of a body, an organization, a temple, a nation state, you have jurists, like the brother put in the chat. You have sheiks, which is people competent in law, in the body as well. They call these people consular officers in the Department of State on the federal level. And every municipality on that, the city level, the city cops, to the sheriffs, they have to be in harmony. It's instruction for federal, local, and law enforcement on how to deal with non-US citizens that may have treaty with the United States. So back to the competency, the importance of the community, the importance of the organization, the clan, the nation state, etc. Competency. Know your own culture. Just know thyself. Right? Always saying be competent on you, right? And know the laws of the land. Work in unison with your other peers, right? Your national peers. Work with your brothers and sisters. Build something great. Organize amongst each other. All right. So you need to know that most of the time they're not going to let it get too far. Typically they will, like I say, doing the continuance, don't schedule the time to come back. But if it does make it to the point where they're talking about this trial, you still got to know that. What constitutes a proper jury? What is a jury of my peers? What does that mean? Is a jury of your peers, well, people up there that think they're U.S. citizens, they Black, Negro, color, Latino, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, Indian, white, don't know international law. They're not citizens of your national government. That's not your peers. That's a fraudulent trial. Like I say, even in that condition, they don't want a competent more to get this far to even talk to that trial here, because once you start competently letting human beings that are not the magistrate, the power's out the magistrate hands now. So once you speak reasoning to the trial, people, they're gonna be like, I didn't even know that. What the DA gonna be doing is like, no, we want to strict this from the record where he can't talk about this when the trial starts. We want it where he can't bring this up in his arguments because he's saying he's against the United States. So he gonna come up with all type of stuff because logic is logic, man. So like I say, as long as you're competent and doing nation state stuff, any law enforcement is gonna be a cakewalk. But once it's like it's individuals doing this, then it's like we're looking to, distort it. And there's no organization, period. There's no organization at the moment where it needs to be. So once again, there's other important things that we need to consider doing before, the little other stuff, right? Nation state, businesses, land, living closer to each other. Surely but surely. Staying consistent with the missionary work, no matter how grim it looks. Staying happy. Fez and turban wherever you go. They're gonna come. Stay diligent. Not gonna happen overnight. Right? Everybody at different vibratory levels. And the whole key is to sharpen your tools so you can get your vibratory level up. You know, you want to be Super Saiyan, right? Like, I don't know whoever watched Dragon Ball Z. I'm not going to assume everybody knows what Super Saiyan. But, you know, you want to ascend, essentially. You want to activate that Christ so the world can see how noble and great you are, how unique you are, right? They're going to seek counsel with you.
Damn, just not get that. Not to cut you off, but they just turned gold. They're like top flight. You know, they're trying up, and that's like the crown chakra. We said the Halo part. Wow, there's one. Whatever their final form is like gold. Dang, that's hard. Wow, man.
All in front of it all these years, right? They Morris culture in your face.
And you destroying planets.
Okay. All right, so let's see. So once again, we were talking about the trial stage. You need to know about the right to speedy trial. You know, they can't be lagging, right? The right to speedy trial is a federal law which establishes time limits for carrying out the indictment and arraignment in a criminal prosecution. The right to speedy trial is a constitutional right available to an accused person in a criminal case under the Sixth Amendment to the United States Constitution. The Speedy Trial Act specifies the time limits for the trial of offense and states the excludable periods of delay. The de facto Congress of the United States passed the Speedy Trial Act codified at 18 U.S.C. subsection 3161 under crime and criminal procedure, dealing with time limits and exclusions, which set a time limit of 70 days from the filing date of the indictment. Let's waive. United States or USC Title 18 Crimes and Criminal Procedure, Chapter 208, dealing with speedy trial, Section 3161. Essentially reiterating the 70 days codified. So we're just saying just to have in our toolbox, just to know. I'm not going to read the whole situation. Let me get to some. You already went over this. So we're dealing with ICE. So this is another level of why it's imperative to be competent, because most of our people already on the land speak Spanish. Majority of our people, from, South Mexico, Central America, South America, the islands. Majority of melanated people speak Spanish in America, the Americas, right? And our brothers and sisters that are classified as being in Latin America, Mexico, etc., West Indian, the Caribbeans, all our people in that direction, they need to know when they come to North America tiptoeing, because they don't have proper paperwork and they think they're going to get deported by ICE. Our people in that condition, we can assist, right? That's why it's imperative that we have interpreters that speak Spanish in the organization, right? Which we have, potential to. With Ilian, and I ran across another brother that said he might be willing to play that role. But the reason why that's important, because those are most of our people that are learning from ICE. Once they learn international law, not only do we have a bigger body membership, people that we can assist in that area. Nonprofit organization, a temple that helps with citizenship, assistance, right? We got the Organization of American States. We have the United Nations versions of the rights of indigenous people. They just need to know the connection. And like I said, most of our people that know the culture, they know about this. Just our people in North America that are really behind. It's not really a tough sell to let them know that they Moors. They get it. We just need to speak Spanish and have some logic as we're speaking Spanish to them. That's it. Be competent. A competent Spanish speaker that knows jurisprudence. and is a member of the organization to play the role of it as an interpreter. And we'll grow, our growth will be crazy. I'm telling you.
You know,
There you go ahead, you got it, Larry Back.
yeah. I was gonna say that. Yeah, like you say, education is very important because they need to be reminded that they are Americans by bloodline, and that Latin America and even the term Spanish is part of the Intercarrera Divina, the Papa Bull, the doctrine of discovery. They're victims of that too as well, because Spanish, that's placed on them by King Philip from Spain. In Latin America, there's no such thing as that. Latin is related to Rome, so that has no bearing here in Americas at all. But they believe that's part of their identity, Spanish and Latin, and it's not. That those two terms are actually foreign to this land as well, and that they're Americans first before they're that. That needs to be emphasized to them as well.
And they'll feel that. If you talk to them like that, like you just said, they'll feel that, like, you're right. This our land. They got, Mexicans got pride. They got, they know about that, the pilgrims and stuff. So all we're gonna do is just highlight and fine tune and specify, specifics on how we, and they're gonna be like, so all these things that we brainstorming and having this think tank discussion about is called diplomacy. It's called, national standards. We're brainstorming as a collective on how to fine tune and for growth, for growth. And it's realistic, and this is what it's gonna take, every day, the rest of our lives. And you're gonna see great things being manifested, and that's what it is. National mind frame. You don't gotta be so like I'm going, this is hard work, and what does it take to be a Moor is, this is fun. We just need to learn the information. That's all. Once we grasp the basics, it's really about just nation building, creating savvy ways to create economic businesses and investments amongst each other. That's the next level, We're working on getting this land and stuff out here. But ultimately, once that happens, I feel like my time will be a little more free, as well, to turn up the missionary work. I said, me and a brother outside, we've been brainstorming. We're gonna create an environment, piece by piece, and so it's a community of Moors. And like I say, it's gonna come to a point where we're gonna need to come together and be like, what we working with, let's invest in something. Because if we all invest into it, if we on a personal level invest individually as members of an organization, together invest in something and make a flip, that's gratifying. I mean, and it's gonna, for one, that creates unity right there. It's an organization, and it takes our bond to another level, and economically, and we're gonna be, and individually, we're gonna market it. If it's 13, 15 people involved in the investment, it's gonna be 15 people willing to market the business or whatever that business is too. Like I said, we all got a unique network and circle. So it's gonna take off. I mean, I'm seeing it with the hoodies and the shirts, the hoodies and the different merch. I'll be printing up, staying consistent. I'm starting to see people with the hoodies, the grocery store, and and these things bring eyes back to the organization. I don't care if it's some Khalifa Society socks, a hoodie, some music they heard. That's all gonna shed light on what is Khalifa Society? What is this about? Nationality, nation state, organization, right? So we're just being savvy. Just a savvy way to how to do that, you know. And it got to be all textbook and preachy and churchy and all that type of stuff. Because we're not trying to convert people. We're trying to make people aware of their nationality, illustrious culture, and catch them up to speed with other people that know their nationality and culture, and look how they're working with each other in real time. Right? We're the only ones that's not doing it. This is why we're not doing it. Let's learn our history and culture, work together in real time, and set up businesses amongst each other. Right? That's where it's at. Right? Create institutions of learning where they can come and rather it'll be every Sunday, whatever the case may be, twice a week, they can come and learn about their history and law. Be part of a body, ask miscellaneous questions, and get competent and do the same as they get competent and do that. You know, that's a beautiful thing. We're the same people. You're doing great work. What else is there to really do, you know? And it's a recipe for a different magnetism because we don't want the police harassing us and all that type of stuff. So we got to have more high vibrational activities amongst ourselves. Feed the homeless. All these things, the reason why these things are important, because it sets a tone on organization. Where the people involved is that. You know, humanitarian acts. These put a positive blanket over you as we make progress over the months and years here. Keep expanding. Good vibes, good energy, reputation. It's going to start getting compounding, getting bigger and bigger on all levels. All right. So, in the instance where a person is held by ICE for any amount of time, a writ of habeas corpus should be filed with the courts pursuant to Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, where it states the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless, in the case of rebellion or invasion, public safety may require it. So let's get into what is a habeas corpus. What is a habeas corpus? And then the brother Benjamin Pay put something in the chat. So, for one, know that Article 1, Section 9 says you have the right to that. What is a writ of habeas corpus? So it's Latin for release the body. If you are kidnapped and the kidnapping was done because of violation of law, lack of due process, violation of your constitutional rights, etc., and you were kidnapped, somebody outside, right? Somebody part of your, you know, you're dealing with nationality, dealing with embassy, consulate, jurisdiction, organization of nation state, then in their eyes, a consular officer, we just call them sheiks, consuls, jurists, is supposed to be competent to go and get you released, one of the citizens of your nation state. But that's the key. Active members. You're coming to release active members of your organization or your nation state. We get that as Moors everywhere. And you might say, oh, if it's a Moor that you don't know, you wouldn't just assist him. And I probably would, you know. But the whole thing is allegiance. That's supposed to be somebody that's part of the organization, doing uplifting acts for the organization, paying dues with the organization, coming to the public events with the organization. That's one of our citizens. So that's the whole point. We all we got. That's the whole point of the allegiance, because there's going to be times where your brother might got to come to your aid, right? So once again, this is nationhood. This is for life, right? So continuing here. Well, okay, before I continue, everybody clear what a habeas corpus is? If not, just say you're not.
Clear. Release the body. Let my people go. type deal. So Moses had a habeas corpus from God, Jesus. If you think about it, the Jews. I'm here to speak on the behalf of, my people. If anybody was young Mott.
Yeah. Yes. So habeas corpus, constitutional right. It's imperative that we're part of communities that know law, international law, nationality and citizenship, jurisprudence. It's imperative to be part of that because you know the rules. Habeas corpus, release the body. Why? Because the body was apprehended unconstitutionally, violation of human rights. Right? All right, so let's continue reading here. The federal courts must intervene and honor the writ pursuant to the United States Supreme Court decision, Younger versus Harry. This was a 1971 case where it was stated when absolutely necessary for protection of constitutional rights, courts of the United States have power to enjoin state officers from instituting criminal actions. So keep them in check. Keep the officers in check in harmony with the Constitution. So let's look at Title 28, U.S. Code, subsection 2255, federal custody, remedies on motion attacking sentence. Subsection A prisoner in custody under the sentence of a court established by act of Congress. So this is codified Article 3, Section 2 right here. This United States Code is in harmony with Article 3 of the Constitution. Why? We're dealing with what? Delegation of authority. Any court that's not established by Congress or have delegation authority by Congress is not a court. Any court that's not Congress is an inferior court, and that inferior court needs to be delegated by Congress. So in this one, it's saying a prisoner in custody under sentence of a court established by act of Congress. That's a cute way of saying what I just said. Claiming the right to be released upon the ground that the sentence was imposed in violation of the Constitution or laws of the United States, or that the court was without jurisdiction to impose such sentence, or that the sentence was in excess of the maximum authorized by law. So before we continue, we can use their stuff against them. U.S. codes aren't your that's not the law of the land. But if they are things that are in harmony with the law of the land, we can use their private stuff against them. So in the United States codes, it already says, but once you got to be competent, you have to be aware of this, of course. Before we even continue finishing any delegation of authority, I highlighted that. And you have constitutional rights, right? And you can keep a court in check with their jurisdiction based on if they're delegated by authority, by Congress, right? So that's that. So let's continue. Okay, collateral attack may move the court which imposed the sentence to vacate, set aside, or correct the sentence. An application for a writ of habeas corpus in behalf of a prisoner who is authorized to apply, right? Authorized to apply for relief by motion pursuant to this section. Now, they're wording it like this. The bottom line is, are you competent to invoke it? Once you are apprehended and your due process is violated, or are you competent enough to be like, oh, file a writ of habeas corpus, right? So to apply, but we're saying invoke. I like to use invoke better. For relief by motion pursuant to this section shall not be entertained if it appears that the applicant has failed to apply for relief. Look, they double down on it. So they saying it's considered violent. You voluntarily got apprehended because you don't know the law. That's why they keep asserting. If they don't assert, if the person that got apprehended doesn't say, don't blow the whistle, keep it pushing. to the court which sentenced him, or that such court has denied him relief, unless it also appears that the remedy by motion is inadequate or ineffective to test the legality of his detention. So once again, you know what you're talking about on paper and in open court. Don't be inadequate, right? Keep it real simple, etc. Any questions on that before I move forward? Before I continue your statements?
No, I was lit, man.
Okay. Title 28, U.S. Code, Section 2254, State Custody, Remedies in Federal Court. That's actually an addition to what I read right here. You can, this isn't hard. This, you know, you can use both of those. It speaks on the same thing as far as federal remedy, based on lack of jurisdiction of the court, based on constitutional rights being violated. It needs to be basically, it's not in jurisdiction of the state court. It needs to be removed to federal court. That's essentially what this one is talking. All right, so let's continue. We commonly, connotatively, and erroneously use adjective black in regards to any dark-skinned person. Or people will force a false black history on others, stating that all people come from black people. As an example, many of our people from, you know, Haiti, with the people that they, Dominican Republic, Tainos, Puerto Ricans, right? And others come from black people. And this is true. Most people that think they're Puerto Rican, they will know, they know like they came from black people. They'll say it like that. Right. So our job is to, you know, clear it up a little bit for them with the specifics. It's not really y'all come from black people. It's not really like that. Right. So we know all this stuff. This is a group right here. I want to scroll down to, we all know the definite, yeah, we all know this basic stuff. Continue, it was something that caught my eye. Oh, I do want to highlight this, even though it's low-key repetition, but Moorish. So whenever it's an ish, it's of or relating to. In this case, the Moors. We're saying we're more ish, of or pertaining to Moors. Right? So if somebody says they're Polish, of or related to Poland. Scottish, of or relating to Scotland. All right. Simple.
And the ish is the suffix, right?
Right. Right. So it doesn't change anything. Because when you say Moors, the empire was big, so it was Moors around the whole world. We just had different clans. The Mali jurisdiction with the Mansa Musa and the Abubakari sultans. We had, before King Philip, we had the Moro Sultan, Sultan Sisulu. Right, we had the czars, the original Russian czars.
Carthaginian.
Right. You know,
Hey,
yeah.
hey, Muffy, I wanted to add on that there's a distinguishment. I don't even know if that's a word or not, but more is distinguished between those in Africa and Europe versus those here in the Americas, right? Now, more is spelled M-O-O-R for those that are in Africa and Europe. But more here in the Americas is M-U-U-R. People don't know that. They think more is M-O-O-R. That applies to everyone regardless. But there is a distinguishment between the way more is spelled here in the Americas versus more in Africa and Europe.
Right. Yeah. Just like on the hier well, they say hieroglyphics, where we say metanetter, it's MAUR. It's but that doesn't change.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. I was
Yeah,
just pointing that out that, you know,
yeah,
yeah, it doesn't
yeah.
change nothing.
But that's still good to put that out there because that'll throw people off. So we gotta constantly, and this is more for the new brother right here, Brother Harris. You looking up black. By definition, it just means pale. Um, and it's just logic. We want to just use logic with our people that our brothers and sisters. And we see, what's going on with that. So, back to what we're talking about, fittingly, this right here, the words of Mexum, more spelled MUUR. And this is divine. This is Brother Larry Bay talking about. It's right here. We was on the brink of coming up to it. American, Al Moroccan, Olmec, Ari. Let me check the chat real quick. Oh, Islam. Empress Taraji Bay. So Mari, Amir, Mexican, Maya, Mali, Ama. So Ama, the Cherokee or Ananawita word meaning water. Amu, a Kush, the Berber word for Morocco. Mauritania, the ancient name for Morocco. Mohawk, Muskegee, Tamare. That's more ancient than saying Egypt, right? Ta, which is short for terror. Mare, right? So land of the Moors, Tamare. That's what in English you would be expressing the land of the Moors. So the land of the Moors is Egypt, right? So you see, you take it back to the measuring stick, you start seeing like the corruption. Like, hold on, Egypt is really the land of the Moors. That's really how you. So just say that. Just say the Tamare, right? You got Mohegan, Sagamore, an American chief, which we know is really sheik in our Arabic tongue. We say we have sheiks, but in English you say chief. Shechem, Saj, Sagamore, Mu, meaning water. And by no coincidence, Moors are known by being sea-fretting people. Morocco is America. As the word America is transliterated, a version of Al, which means prefix in Arabic, will mean descendants of Moroccan. So Al Moroccan, you would be saying from Morocco or descendants of Moroccans. In linguistic studies, one will surely find out that all vowels are interchangeable, hence the following. So here we have Al Moroccan. Here's an example of the vowel shift. So American and Al Moroccan is the same word. So here's a visual of that. You guys are the best. I am honored to be a member. We appreciate you too, Empress Taraji. So here's a visual of the vowel shifts, Al Moroccan and American. All right, same thing. The purpose of branding us Negro, colored, Spanish, Indian, and West Indian was by no mistake. It was in fact intended to denationalize us, thus making us, in law, non-descendable and unable to inherit our vast estate, as we are the true heirs of the present Moroccan Empire. The Moroccan Empire has been systematically divided into what is now administered by Christian European powers such as Spain, Britain, France, Germany, and the Union of Colonies known as the United States. One of the last meetings that took place for the division of the Moroccan Empire was held in Berlin, known as the Berlin Conference. Look that up, look this up, and everybody on their own time doing intense analysis on the Berlin Conference. And you'll see that's when they start dividing these districts up. So how you see, quote unquote, Al-Kibalan or Southeast Africa, because we're in Northwest Africa right now. You'll see how they divided it up. And most of the French colonies over there, what they call Africa today, right, is controlled by the French, British, etc. And giving the names of these nation states were given by, Germans, French, modern day, Slav. It's very, very infiltrated. So also over here. And another marker that y'all should look into is World War I and II. These are time markers where the geographical the maps and nation states, you start seeing they look different. It went from like only a couple to now it's like all these fractionalized nations. There's a bunch of them now, right? And it also nations that were ancient, but now they just got established in 1940s, and these things start taking place, right? So after World War II, you got the Kingdom of Morocco, you got Egypt, right? Egypt, Middle Eastern, Pale Arab Egypt, all these things in 1950s, right? So this is all under the umbrella of Reconstruction, right? Scrambling the minds of people geographically, historically, and culturally. All right, so let's continue here. The denationalization process also disconnects us from our vast, illustrious history and places us in wardship status, providing room for Europeans to escheat our estate. So this is really what I was looking for right here before that other passage caught my eye. We were talking about, tags, right? So we're talking about Dominican Republic. Our brothers and sisters are saying they're Dominican. You want to show them how you want to stay away from that. Let's get back to the ancient root, right? And once you show them the ancient root, now it's back to where is their allegiance at? Because everybody has a choice. Your allegiance couldn't be to your oppressor, right? We don't want to force nobody, but we want to let people know where it's at. All right, so name Dominican is derived from Saint Dominican, Saint Dominic. The Order of Creatures, also known as the Dominican Order, is a Catholic religious order founded by the Spanish priest Dominic of Caligria, France, approved by Pope Honorius III via the Papal Bull, Religious Invitum on the 22nd of December, 1216. Members of the orders are referred to as Dominicans. So members of that Catholic order, right, are called Dominicans. That's not a nationality. They tagged our people once they got colonized. That's why today half the island, Dominican, I'm Dominican. I'm Christian, Catholic, Dominican. Other half of the island, I'm Haitian, locked up, right? Got the locks, more ancient culture. They both on the same island. They're both the same people. But based on colonialization, half the island mind is gone, got snatched up by the colonists. The other half of the island, ancient and root. Same people, same play in a different part of the Americas. It may not be the continental North America, but it's still in the adjoining islands in the Americanas. So this is how we want to talk to our brothers and sisters from the islands, or people that think they're Dominican. Explain to them with patience, competence, and best believe they're gonna have an open ear and be happy that you took the time to let them know that. Because people are just not doing that nowadays. People, especially our people, you come up with a lot of hate, jealousy, animosity, cockiness. And it's a rarity, man, to even want to talk to our people about the culture and want to unify with them. And once again, we're not talking about religion. This is a different space for most people you're going to see. Once you're talking to let them know, we talk about culture the whole time. I've been talking about the nationality. I've been actually removing culture from the equation. The Dominic order is a Catholic religious situation, right? I'm trying to, All right, so let me continue. So we all know where, the term Dominican derives from. So following the death of Dominic and the establishment of the Inquisition against the Moors in 1237, several members of the Dominican order became Inquisitions. The Inquisitions of Europe and North Aquilan, which was branded Africa, Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc., began to instruct their counterparts in America or West Morocco of the Akamaniya system. The Akamaniya, Comenienda was a Spanish or Spaniard labor and caste system. It rewarded conquerors with papal sanction or forced servitude perpetuated against conquered Moors. It was first established in Spain when used during the Christian conquest of Moorish territories or crusades. It was applied on a much larger scale during the Spanish Inquisition and colonization of the Americas and the Philippines, or Moro Islands. Conquered Moors were considered vassals of the Spanish monarch. They were even branded Spanish to remove them from their inheritance or heritability, which is why most Moors of South America refer to themselves as Spanish. The Christian crown awarded the Camarilla as a grant to a particular individual who showed no remorse through their heinous acts of murdering innocents and the like, while of course giving thanks to the Pope and claiming to defend the faith of Christianity against infidels, quote unquote. Yet the promotion of the spread of dogmatic Christianity is in fact a diversion from the real objective, being political and administrative control over the planet. Following the conquering of the Aztec Empire and the fall of Montezuma, the Spaniards or Spanish conquistadors not only began to refer to themselves as Mexica, Aztecs or Mexicans, but began to brand the Aboriginal people part of the empire, such as the people of Haiti, or what they say, Haiti. Conquistadors is a term used to refer to the soldiers and the explorers of the Spanish Empire or the Portuguese Empire in a general sense, and is derived from the word conqueror, which the definition of conqueror, one who wins a country, subjugates a people, or defeats an adversary. Conqueror. All right, so that's a little background. Those who remained conquered referred to themselves as the name the conquerors gave them. This is evident in the coat of arms of the Dominican Republic compared to the South American states or South American states. Additionally, the same branding applies to the Muisca or the peoples of the Inca Empire, which consisted of all of South America. The Muisca were known for their golden cities. But think about this: the golden age of the Moor, the golden trade of the Moor. The Incas were known for their golden cities. We're talking about America. We're not talking about North Africa, right? Let's see. These things start popping out to you when you start studying, right? The golden cities were the story of El Dorado. The story of El Dorado is based on. When studying the Inca Empire in contrast to modern-day Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador, right? Because Colombia, this is another example of names given by the colonists. Christopher Columbus, Colombia. That's not ancient. Colombia is not ancient, right? You will inevitably come across a common ancestry to the Muisca, who are in fact Muslim. Not only this, but the national standards flags of said countries are essentially the same. So when you look at these flags right here, look at the flag Ecuador, y'all can Google it or whatever, or look up the coat of arms for Central America, El Salvador, Ecuador. You're gonna see a fez and the insignia. So now let's go to the Quran, chapter 45. The divine origins of the Asiatic nations, where it states the fallen sons of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn instead of hate, and to know their higher and self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching the instructions of all Moorish Americans. The key to civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. Moorish, who were ancient Moabites and the founders of the Holy City of Mecca. The Egyptians, who were the Hammatites and the direct descendants of Mizraim, the Arabians, the seed of Hagar, Japanese and Chinese, the Hindus of India, the descendants of the ancient Canaanites, Hittites, and the Moabites of the land of Canaan, the Asiatic nations of North, South, and Central America, Moorish Americans and Mexicans of North America, Brazilians, Argentinians, the Chileans in South America, Colombians, Nicaraguans, a native of South San Salvador and Central America. All of these are Muslims. So back to the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment, right? So the reason we're going through this is because all we're doing is talking to our brothers, right? And letting them know back to ICE. All this comes back to the ICE thing. We need to know the background, how to appeal to our brothers in the American states, right? What are the American states? Guatemala, Haiti, Belize, Jamaica, Cuba, Ecuador, El Salvador, Mexico. We need to appeal to our brothers and sisters in the Americas, north to south, in an intelligent tone, right? It's in our holy books. These are all Muslims. We saying Muslims, what we saying? Muscles, oxygen, skeletal system, ligaments, magnetism, right? Electrical system, knowing thyself, knowing the kosher, knowing how to use the earth for our benefit, to enhance our abilities to do trade, etc. Right? Muslims. Here are several cases before the alleged adoption of the 14th Amendment in 1868. To keep this in mind. For me, I like this year because this is when they knocked off Lincoln, killed Lincoln, 1868, 1869. And you're going to see during this period, there was a lot of stuff going on. Republic, democracy, right? It was a shift. Now you start hearing more democracy during this period. I'll read a couple case laws. So we got McCullough versus Maryland. United States Supreme Court, March 6, 1819. Constitution therefore declares that the Constitution itself and the laws passed in pursuance of its provisions shall be the supreme law of the land and shall control all state legislation. So that covers municipal codes, penal code statutes, whatever. The measuring stick. Fletcher versus Peck. The Constitution of the United States contains what may be deemed the Bill of Rights. Right. So in these cases, the Bill of Rights fully applied to the states. Also see Holmes versus Jennison, United States Supreme Court case, 1840, whereby Chief Judge Taney states in his ruling and rationale that there was an error in Barron versus City of Baltimore. The error was in regards to the statement that the Bill of Rights had no effect upon state governments. He also stated, but as the decision is a recent one and stands alone, I trust the court will attend to me while I submit remarks upon the question so important and interesting. Also, reference was Miguel versus Bryan, where it was stated, we have the supreme law of the state in two constitutions declaring one, the Declaration of Rights is hereby declared to be part of the Constitution of the Commonwealth and ought never to be violated on any pretext. All right. That everything contained in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of 1776. So we back to them Bill of Rights. 10 amendments, nothing more. You don't need the application of the 14th and 15th Amendment. That's past 10. 14 and 15 is past 10. If it's past 10, it's not the Bill of Rights. That's how I keep it simple. Me personally. So now we have the congressional record. In this congressional record, it was talked about how it wasn't ratified. It was talked about how it was like 10, 12 states that wasn't down with the Fourth Amendment, right? Because it was unconstitutional. So we'll go over a little bit of that, but I highly recommend just looking up this congressional record right here. 90th Congress first session. So this is dealing with the 14th Amendment, equal protection law. And I'm just going to skim through it just to highlight some things. So right here, it was not ratified. 14th Amendment, that was the issue. That was the one issue that it wasn't ratified by two-thirds of Congress. Whenever something is being placed in law, it needs to be ratified by 2/3 vote. That did not take place. All right, let me just look. Declare the 14th Amendment illegal. Let me go down to some other parts here. Like I said, I recommend everybody just reading this whole thing. Whereas the purported 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution was never lawfully adopted in accordance with the requirements of the United States Constitution, because 11 states of the Union were deprived of their equal suffrage or able to vote in the Senate in violation of the 5th Article 5. Look at this. Look at this. Hold on. To the screen. It says, there we go. Southern states, including Louisiana, were excluded from deliberation and decision in the adoption of the joint resolution proposing said 14th Amendment. Said resolution was not presented to the President of the United States in order that the same should take effect, as required by Article 1, Section 7. The proposed amendment was not ratified by 3/4 of the states. But to the contrary, 15 states of the then 37 states of the Union rejected the proposed 14th Amendment between the dates of its submission to the states by the Secretary of the State, June 16th, 1866. Right. And 1868 March. So not only wasn't it ratified, it was states that flat out rejected it because it was unconstitutional. Right. Naturalization. First of all, your nationality determines your citizenship unless you outright expatriate. Right. So by the United States corporation not being a nationality of people, you can't be a citizen of that unless you're on the level of a federal employee or officer of that corporation. That's what you're saying. Right. So the reason that they're doing this is because they wanted to create a guise or a buffer to get away from nation state jurisdiction. Right. We know why they did that, but the reason why I'm sharing this so we can have in our toolbox things to utilize. So if the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, wasn't ratified, nobody's a U.S. citizen. Right. So a lot of these things you start seeing don't apply, right? But in the context of us, we want to say, look, Article 3, Article 6, supremacy clause. You're having a dispute with a non-U.S. citizen. That's one level of scope. Another level of scope is you can't even be a U.S. citizen. So it's always going to just be a dispute with a non-U.S. citizen if I'm not a federal employee or a board member of the corp, right? So this is where we need to have our mind at. Let me fly through some more. Not the bottom line, actually. And a matter of fact, it's a list. You see, it's a list of states. I think it was like 20. I want to get to that list. Yeah, Arkansas. Look, Arkansas legislator, December 17, 1866, protest the following. The Constitution authorized 2/3 of both houses of Congress to propose amendments. And as 11 states were excluded from deliberation and the decision upon the one now submitted, the conclusion is inevitable that this is not proposed by legal authority, but impalpable violation of the Constitution. So Arkansas popped it off. Just know it was like 11 more states that said the same thing Arkansas said. All right. So you can't be a U.S. citizen. Any questions on that or the scope of what we're talking about for our citizenship in the 14th Amendment?
I do have a quick question. Why is it that a lot of people, like, I know a lot of people in the Vietnamese like community are very, like, especially the elders, they're very on that, like, trying to get their U.S. citizenship. Is that because of like benefits and things like that? Is that
Yeah.
on the same topic?
Yeah. Some people want that to play a game where, like, people want to play the credit. You can utilize certain things. So people need, a social and a birth certificate issued by them so you can get credit, so you can get, food stamps or whatever the case may be. Um, which is fine as long as you know what you're doing it for tactical reasons and you're not just so caught up in it, 'cause at the end of the day, let's use Chinatown, Koreatown, Little Saigon. There are people in these communities that may have food stamps, but at large, you'll see there's not too many homelessness. It's not like they need the food stamp. Like when it come down to it, the people got their people back at the end of the day. We get there's exceptions to the rule, but the overall climate, right? And then when you now let's morph to areas like South Central, Compton, right? You see it's more of our people that are classified as Black and Latino that are not working with each other. And most of them are on, depending on the state. That's what we want to correct. But we have more, we want to create an environment where, now I know I kind of went a little everywhere, not too much, but I kind of went outside the scope of what you're saying. But I would imagine, to answer your question, that they're doing that for the bill credit, and they're doing that for some type of benefit. Specifically.
No, my understanding is that a lot of people get scared that they're going to get deported, and so they become a U.S. citizen because, like, for example, like my dad's like on a green card, and he's trying to get his like U.S. citizenship, and it's because like a lot of times people get afraid that they're going to get deported if they're not a U.S. citizen.
Right. And then that space, that's the same space that we were talking about with our people from the island, South America, about the ICE situation. That's the same situation. Once, they join our organization, this is how we can assist. We get our people competent on how we're all Moors and we're under the same body, right? We have a roll call, we have a record of participation in meetings. And the more organized that we get, the better. Just throw that out there, you know what I mean? So that's why on the participation of the people in the body. But what happens is when we start invoking these House resolutions that are like back to the mayor's office of Chicago, back to the state level of Texas, back to the mayor's office of South Carolina, North Carolina, that it's already on the books that Moorish Americans are Aboriginal and Indigenous, not only to the Americas, but to the world, right? So what happens is, and not only that, back to the rights of indigenous people, the OAS, and the United Nations version. That's a whole jurisdiction. Now you're saying you're an indigenous to the land as the Moor. Nationality cards. All right. And ideally, if Little Saigon, for example, if all of Little Saigon, think about this, knew the information we know and work together on that tip under the Moorish paradigm, because already organization, obviously, it's already an organization. If they just took the organization and unified under empire, under the Moor, now we have a situation where people like your dad can come join the organization. We can issue our nationality cards. He doesn't have to worry about, do I look cute for the United States? federal corporation. You're part of a nation state that's aboriginal, that's tied to the land. You know what I mean? And that's what I would say. You know. This is great. This is international affairs. That's what it's about, So I think y'all get the point on this. Wasn't 14th Amendment wasn't ratified. And, oh yeah, and then you can use this. If it ever came to an open court, as far as dealing with this, it's what you would utilize in open court, If the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, what grounds are you deporting? How? What? Oh, and then also, that's all I want to get to before I close out. When we're dealing with deportation, look at all these states that have rejected it. That rejected the 14th Amendment. That's crazy. But what I wanted to talk about was not only the when you get deported, you got to get accepted. All these states is crazy. And I have a certified copy of this with it right here too from the Library of Congress. That is congressional record that I've been reading right now. Well, I want to get out of dealing with the deportation because it's key that we comprehend that the accepting country has to accept you under international law. Look at all these states. We still look. What I'm scrolling through right here is all the states that said we're not going for it. Look, man, it's just the proof's in the pudding. I'm just amazed. I just could never get old. I look as I read through this stuff. Still the same record, man. Well, I had seen something earlier about how they accept a state. Country got to accept you. Anyway, while I'm looking for that, any miscellaneous questions, statements? Anybody want to on any level? I would imagine Brother Lamar Harris, you will have some type of questions.
Yeah, I got a question about the jury. The jury, how do they go about picking each member of the jury?
You're a little muffled.
Oh, okay. Is it still muffled?
That's a little better. I can make you out.
I was saying, when they pick the jury, how do they go about picking each member?
You said how many number? How many? Is 12? That's asking me how many jurors?
Yeah, how do they pick them out, like individually?
It's a criteria being unbiased. So they try to make sure like you're not, like the mother of the
Okay.
you're not connected and stuff like that. But when I brought it up, I'm emphasizing where it states the jury and your peers. You want to make sure that when they're doing the jury selection, and this from the perspective of, the Moor. I'm a Moor, I have a nationality. So it needs to be Moors up there.
But they're saying at least one more should be in the the jury.
6. If it's 12, it needs to be 6. Yeah, to be fair.
Okay.
That's half.
That's
half, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever the other, right? Whoever representing or thinking they're U.S. citizens or whatever, That'll be the other 6, right?
Okay.
What else? Were you saying something else? You just kind of muffled earlier.
No, I was just wondering about you gave me my answer. I was wondering about the jury and how they pick them, and
You answered my question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, where were you at, and are you thinking of a national name, appellation, a Morris title? Where are you at with that? Or you comprehend about the bays, the L's, the I's?
Yeah, I wanted the Bay. I wanted to be Ramal Bay, if that was possible. RAMALBEY, if that was possible.
Can you put how you spell that in the chat? Let me see. Larry Bay, you still in here? Larry Bay. Larry Bay, you still
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
If he puts his appellation in the chat, can you do what I'm having you do with just making the paperwork?
Yeah, I think I'll do it for him.
Okay, yeah, so put how you want your free national name.
I see it. I
Is that
believe.
correct?
Let's see here. Ramel Bay.
Yeah. Yeah, Ramel Bay.
So straw
Yeah,
too, how it's spelled, the all caps, like how it looks on the driver's license and the birth certificate.
Yeah, I just screenshotted it. So I will Mafia, I will take care of it for you, and then I will email it to you.
What about the Lamar Harris? Is that your straw?
Oh, Lamar Harris. Oh yeah. What is his legal name?
Yeah, that's my legal name. Lamar
Okay.
Harris.
You want to put that in the chat as well, so I can screenshot it, so I won't forget it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I got you. All right, one moment. Okay, got it. So I'll take care of this. I'll get it sent over to Mafia, and that'll be it.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna forward that to you, and then you're gonna print it out, and then you're gonna sign it, and then you're gonna mail that. I'm gonna let you know where to mail it to, and I'm gonna put some seals on there. So I'll speak with I believe. Oh, you're related to Taraji, right? You with Taraji out there in Virginia?
Me?
Yeah, where you?
I'm in Rhode Island, but yeah, Taraji's my stepmom and my dad is Kabaka.
Okay, yeah, right. I knew you connected with them. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's it'll be just $5 for the seals. We gotta pay for the seals for your paperwork, and that's pretty much it. So
Send the money. Okay.
Yeah, but I want to go over. Matter of fact, I might do that. Matter of fact, did we go over that last week? Go on the nationality paperwork. You clear on how to go through RV Bay and kind of just.
No, we didn't go over it because they was messing with my phone.
Oh, okay. I'm tripping. My bad. You don't gotta do that. Never mind. The brother handling that. That's the whole point. All right, so you good. You don't gotta.
Okay.
My point was when you get it, study it. Your nationality paperwork, treat it as a study guide. There's a lot of information on there, and just make sure you can know what everything is talking about.
Understand and stuff. Peace, yeah. I'm definitely go over it from top to bottom.
Okay. Any other thoughts from anybody else? We got the summer solstice coming up, the 21st. That's a Friday. It'll be from 10 to 4:30. I believe everybody got the flyer. Outside of that, now you can say.
Yes, on June 30th, there was the Puerto Rican festival that we came across that we're gonna try to go to. Make sure some place and hold like a catering event.
June 30th, the Puerto Rican festival. That what you said?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Ooh,
So June 30th is a Puerto Rican festival. What city is it in? What city was it in now?
Yeah, I definitely like to attend that.
I think that's in Long Beach. I think all the events were in Long Beach.
Please make sure to
Okay. So yeah, somewhere in the area. So the reason I wanted to go to that is basically like what we were just reading earlier. We're gonna let them know the whole Puerto Rican thing, Rich Port,
shopper's
you know,
card
before
or
the colonists came over here,
alternate ID.
Taino,
Number
Arawak,
of bags you wish to purchase.
Boricua,
Press done
right?
or press the no bags
We're the
button.
same people,
Is 379.
and our
If you have
organization exists, and we want to
insert
unite.
card and follow instructions on
We want to unite.
keypad.
You know, we want to unite based on our ancestors being the same, and we want to shed light on our connection. So that's we'll get the specifics out there. So June 30th. What day does that fall on? What day does June 30th fall on?
Let's see. June 30th, I believe that's a Sunday. Yeah, June 30th is a Sunday. I'm gonna see though. I still have to. I reached out to them to see if we could be a vendor, like hold the table. But they haven't reached back out to me. Maybe by Monday they'll say something.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, that'd be a good event for us to go to. So let me just close out the official meeting with a prayer real quick. We can just have some miscellaneous. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation, my night and my day. Through his holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. Islam. Let me stop this recorder. Stop this recorder right quick.